Welcome back to the SEO Weekly, where queries are weird, advice is controversial, and everything depends. I'm your host, Garrett Sussman of iPullrank, and every week I cover everything that's going on in the world of SEO. We're talking Google, blog posts, webinar, podcasts, new tools with new features, you name it, I'm on it. If you're into this stuff, please subscribe to our channel, give us a like, leave a comment, spread it on socials. I genuinely appreciate it. So what happened last week? Well, Google had their annual SearchOn mini 1-hour virtual conference where they shared everything that's going with the development of their search tools and the search engine. We had the HTTP 2022 Web Almanac, their annual report on the state of the web, and a very interesting deep dive into SEO enterprise e-commerce and why technology can't always fix real problems, business problems, process problems, people problems. Let's dive in. So last week, Google held SearchOn, an hour annual virtual conference where they go into all of the things they're developing for search, some things that are being rolled out immediately and some that are in the not too distant future. Last year, there was a lot of focus on how they're utilizing MUM and Google Lens and even touched on multi-search. Well, this year, they continue to develop those ideas and concepts, specifically focusing on 4 areas. One was making search more intuitive, making it easy to explore, e-commerce tools to make it more effective to find the things that you want to buy, local search, providing tools that you can use locally and explore your area, and then almost kind of a social, forum discussion aspect where they want to surface more insights from actual people. Going in the direction of a more visual search, David Pierce of The Verge did a really interesting kind of summary of the event and talked about this idea that in some ways Google is trying to compete with TikTok and providing more discovery of information, not necessarily just putting exactly what you're looking for, but opening up the doors to surfacing content that you didn't even know that you were interested in finding. It leads to some interesting problems. In some way, Google is actually trying to create this new product, and who knows if it's what people want. Sure, TikTok is popular, but when people go to Google, they're looking for the best information. A secondary issue that comes up with this kind of direction is that you're still dependent on content and where people want to upload content. If people prefer to upload visual and great content to TikTok or Instagram or other social media, platforms, then you have to curate that information, that content, especially if they're not necessarily surfacing it to your own. Finally, the issue is content is not always that great. For instance, if you go to TikTok for SEO information, you're going to see a lot of bad info out there. Content is only successful if it's what people are putting up there. And so if it's not authoritative, which Google's been working on for a long, long time, it's not always going to be the best information. And they're not trying to litigate what is, think politically the best information, especially when it comes to opinions. It's a problem that Google runs into and one that I don't think that they've been able to solve. So let's go a little deeper into some of the aspects that they covered on SearchOn. So at SearchOn, the first biggest category that they covered is better and more intuitive search tools. One that's been around for a little bit now is this idea of multi-search, which I think it's kind of not useless, but I can't imagine a ton of people using it. Basically, it is you use a picture and then you add search to text to it. So for instance, locally, if you see a recipe dish that you like, and then you add near me in the text, it would show you a bunch of that dish in the area that you are at. The problem with it is I can imagine it would only be really useful for someone like in a city. Outside of that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find great Chinese food in Northern Virginia. Don't hate me, but I just haven't. It's not like the Northeast. I haven't found it yet. Additionally, though, some of the other search tools are really great that they're developing. For instance, we've always depended on autocomplete, right? You start to type in a query, and then all of a sudden you get 5 or 6 answers, and sometimes it's a little surprising as to what Google is suggesting, but it's based on what other people are searching and your own search history. Well, they're developing the autocomplete to add topics like these little pills, tabs. Well, I learned actually the design term is chips. They're called chips. But Google is surfacing more of these autocomplete topics that you might have thought to search but didn't think to search. So they're presenting this to you to get you deeper into what you're thinking that you're looking for. The other thing is, imagine when you're going through page 1 and you're not finding what you're looking for, and some of us will actually go to page 2, 3, 4. We are a rare breed. Most people are done after page 1, but there's this idea that they're adding, which is explore as you scroll. So if you get to the end, you can always click more results in the Google Discover, the Google app, but it'll actually take you now as you scroll to different topics. You can see from this example by Christina Levesser that where she's actually seeing it in the wild already. And it's a great way to kind of dive into more topics. I think it will be kind of fun, even if it doesn't ultimately surface exactly what you're looking for. So these tools should make search a little more intuitive. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it'll be helpful. Curious to hear your thoughts about it in the comments. As we've covered here multiple times, Google is going hard on e-commerce, really trying to be a better Amazon competitor by providing a ton more tools to shop for e-commerce. And they went through like 9 different new tools that they're rolling out on search, specifically starting with going much more visual, where if you append shop at the beginning of your query, kind of like a near me, but for e-commerce shop, your results will be much more visual, much more focused, still dynamic, not just like Google Shopping where it's just like product, but a more dynamic visual shopping feed that you'll see when you put shop in your query. You can shop the look. So if you take a picture, Google will make it more intuitive for you to pick out different elements of what you see on the model that they're wearing and then complementary outfits. They'll show you what's trending, which as a hipster, I hate. I don't want to buy what's trending. I want to be unique. But if you want to see what the hottest new items are, you can see what's trending. They're giving more tools for folks to shop in 3D, like so for sneakers, to be able to see the whole 360-degree view of something. They're providing more tools to shop with confidence. So the idea of being able to surface buying guides, which actually, it's funny, Zach Chahalis and I covered in our Black Friday SEO webinar a few weeks ago. But if you haven't done buying guides yet as a content creator, absolutely something that you should create, because Google is going to surface more of those. And then they're also providing more context, not just reviews about pages. So if you're on a page, it'll show like the pros and the cons, product review, expert updates. They're calling this page insights. So it'll be interesting to see the quality of the page insights that are provided. But obviously, this is all tied to the various product review update iterations they've done over the last couple of years. More personalized shopping results. So based on what you've searched for in the past, it'll make recommendations based on your personal interests, which I think is actually pretty cool. I asked on Twitter, are you willing to give up your privacy and your data for better results? And most people like no, but it's not like you have a choice in the matter. Well, you do, but if you want to benefit from a lot of Google's things, you kind of have to, get rid of your privacy. It's just the reality in America. Don't hate me. Don't shoot the messenger. They're providing more filters for you to, look through the different products that you're looking for. And then ultimately in the Discover feed, they're just going to be surfacing more stuff for you to buy, trending or just that you'd be interested in. So that's cool. That's cool. But a lot of e-commerce features, it's going to be interesting to see the extent to which they get it right. Ultimately, it's about whether those products are actually available. I was doing a search for, shopping baby hoodies and saw all these baby hoodies. And then at some point I got into Little Baby, the Rappers merch store. Still an interesting experience nonetheless. I think it's getting better. What do you think? A few months ago, there was a big controversy about how people just put like Reddit in the search terms to find actual user opinions on, so many things. Because that's one thing that Google isn't great at, in my opinion, is kind of surfacing thought leadership in a sort of organic way. One of the features that they're adding is a little search box that includes forums and opinions. So basically results from Reddit and Quora. That is pretty useful and interesting, and I like that. It's funny, I actually hear the criticism from Reddit users that Reddit search isn't great, so maybe Google can improve upon that and provide better results from Reddit. Either way, I do think there's value in having that and surfacing that, because that's content that people are looking for when they're looking for opinions on things a lot of times. So kudos on that. And finally, there is the local component. Actually, great summary by Jenny Bernardi of BrightLocal. Talked about like kind of 4 insights or updates that are rolling out that we kind of were covered via SearchOn. So for instance, multi-search near me, as I mentioned before, including near me and that focus there. Great for restaurants and finding a specific dish, and whether it's local, using multi-search. A Google Maps neighborhood vibe. So she calls out that Google's going to try and surface pictures and content locally if you're on like Google Maps. I feel like to some extent this exists in the like kind of Google Maps Discover feed, but they're going to do more of that. Google Maps Live View, which is interesting. They're only rolling out to 5 cities, but a much more immersive, like being able to use predictive technology to get a sense of what the weather's like in a specific city, like live. That's nuts. I can't even imagine how that works. And one more was just this kind of subtle passing note from the speakers around how Google might be moving away from reviews, which I actually get for some different categories where the reviews aren't completely reliable. In others, like legal and healthcare, I actually do find the reviews super valuable, but they're going to be surfacing other information, other pros and cons, other local content that might be more helpful in search. So those are some local rollouts. Curious, do you like the local near me Google search experience, or are there things that you'd want to see improved? Love to hear your thoughts on that. If you are presenting at a conference and you're covering SEO and you want to say something about Google, but you're kind of second guessing the accuracy of what you're saying, no matter how simple or obvious it might feel, no judgment, but John Mueller is actually very generously offering to check your work before you hop on stage. So you can shoot him a DM, show him what you're looking for. Now, obviously, he's not going to look at a 200-slide presentation, but if you have a specific question, send it your way, and he will be happy to help and make sure that Google's not, as he says, face palming in the back. They wouldn't do. I would hope they wouldn't do that. But very nice offer by John. Hit him up if you are presenting. Naturally, Google is a theme on the SEO Weekly, and this week SerpStat held a Twitter chat that was hosted, accompanied by Nelson Linden Allen. Really cool. Just went through a bunch of different questions along the lines of like, what do you love that Google does, for instance? And it wasn't even all just like search engine related, like Gmail or Google Docs. They're like, what does Google do that you hate? Like in terms of killing off some of their great products like they did with Stadia recently. What is something that Google misdirects or misleads people about, instead of like transparency with ranking factors? Or if you could make one thing a ranking factor, what would you choose? I love the answer of like accessibility. Really great Twitter chat by the team at SerpStat. Go through those answers, check them out. It's always interesting to hear everyone's opinions on what Google gets right and what Google gets wrong. And we're typically a lot more critical of Google than give them credit. But, as a lot of people mentioned in the first of what do you love about Google? Well, in the world of SEO, it gives us a job, and we love that. People Supporting SEOs 2022 has been launched. This is an initiative we did last year that gave people an opportunity to share what they loved about some of their favorite SEOs and give a voice to some underrepresented folks as well, kind of get their names out there. Had a great turnout this year. Another 20 plus people were supported and validated and celebrated. So you can check out these really thoughtful testimonial videos on the blog post along with some written words. If you still want to nominate someone, we're always happy to accept throughout the year more nominations. So feel free to click the link to submit your own form and contribute to this. I know this love fest in the SEO community, but it's great. It's great to support people, and everyone who's been nominated always tells me how much they get a kick out of it. It really makes them smile. So check that out, share your love, and enjoy. I thought it was great. So another year, another version of HTTP Archive's Web Almanac. This is the version 2022 was released. This is comprehensive. They go through everything. And a big shout out to the contributors. It was written by Sophie Brennan, Inamar Blauer, and Morty Oberstein. It was reviewed by Patrick Stocks and Tushar Pohl, Mobeen Ali, and Dave Smart, and actually our own John Murch. Analyzed by past iPullrank member Colt Sleva, J.R. Oakes, and Derek Perkins, and then it was edited by Michael Lewitz. It goes through everything. I mean, we're talking about like robots.txt, index if embedded, page experience factors like HTTPS and mobile friendliness and core web vitals. It goes through on-page stuff like metadata, and it covers like with detailed studies and statistics and information all about the usage of this across the web. The SEO chapter with all those people that I mentioned, I mean, it covers everything. It covers like CSS, JavaScript, everything about the web, but the SEO chapter is so good. It's definitely worth consuming and reading and obsessing over. Well, not obsessing over, but it's great content, and it gives you great insight into the state of the web report when it comes to SEO of 2022. So awesome work to the whole team and everybody who contributed to that. So Sean Lingba wrote a really cool article for Search Engine Land all about enterprise e-commerce SEO, and addresses all the reasons why so many organizations do it so poorly and that technology can't always save you. He goes into issues with data, missing data, data quality, content, people, processes, and tying everything back to the business. When you're trying to, do major things like change your website design or, move to a new platform or just trying to improve your SEO, you have to get the fundamentals right. You can't always try to reinvent the wheel or chase the shiny new object. He goes piece by piece in this article as to what you need to fix and focus on before you can get really, truly innovative. You'll affect the business so much more effectively and drive more revenue if you get the fundamentals right. It needs to be said. Great article, worth reading and kind of picking out. If you're an SEO enterprise, if you're an enterprise e-commerce SEO, review it and see how many of those boxes you check. Okay, not a pity me, but it is difficult to be an SEO and to identify exactly how one update might have impacted the rankings. So much credit to Lily Ray for diving into the data and doing her best, especially in this specific, circumstance where you have, the product reviews update and the September core update and the helpful content update all kind of rolling out around the same-ish time. So much volatility in the SERPs. She, in her article about the winners and losers of the September core update and the product reviews update, has a lot of disclaimers all around. It's really hard to distinguish what is impacting what, but she shows the changes anyway from Systrix and similar web data, which is fascinating, and sees a lot of fluctuations when it comes to news sites and music sites and e-commerce and government sites up and down across the board. One thing that she's mentioned on Twitter since then is just that Google really is trying to surface different types of results that that are unique and have some variability. So if you lost rankings, maybe it was similar to a winner result. We still don't know if these results are good. I mean, people look at these search terms and they're seeing SERPs that are not satisfying, and maybe Google will get there. And you got to remember, we're talking about like billions and billions of search terms, but a lot of credit to Lily for looking into the data and just pulling out at least objectively who's doing better and who's not. Read her article. It's a great deep dive, disclaimers included. So if you've ever worked on like a massive website with millions of pages, A lot of technical SEO issues can arise, and sometimes it's really hard to identify what they are so you can even fix them in the first place. Well, that's where log file analysis comes into play. We had an awesome guest post on the iPullrank from Botify consultant Chris Bryant going all through how you can use Botify or just do log analysis in general, whether you're looking at segmenting by content types or HTTP issues or loading times, and being able to look at the log files to identify trends and themes across different templates or different segments of your site so you can fix those more effectively. If you are a technical SEO and you've done any sort of log file analysis, if you're doing it manually or you need a tool, this is going to be a helpful post for you. So check it out. So Bastion Grimm did his SMX Advanced presentation as an article on Search Engine Land, talking all about technical SEO testing, like how Googlebot handles iframes, which is always really interesting because we do have this index if embedded directive that can be used in meta tags. But how does that actually look when it comes to what is getting indexed and what is ranking for what, whether it's the embedded content or the actual parent URL? So in his presentation and the article, Bastion goes into these different kind of use case situations where, the content that's in the iframe, the parent URL, actually gets ranked. So it's good to know from, a technical standpoint what the potential implications are and what the real life kind of output results are when that happens. So check out that article. It's all kind of laid out there in the Search Engine Land post. Good job, Bash. Headless SEO. What the heck is that? Well, Lidia Infante for Sanity.io blog wrote all about Headless SEO 101, and it's obviously relevant with a headless CMS when you're talking about taking content and not necessarily building web pages the traditional way, but assembling content as data onto your website. And so Lidia talks through those headless SEO implications, how it actually does require a lot more planning from a technical side of things, but you're not really depending on third-party plugins like the Yoasts and RankMass of the world to give directives on how your content is handled from a technical SEO perspective. If you're using a headless CMS or you're curious about it, it's a great article by Lidia. She talks about the idea of omni-channel SEO, being able to present content in different ways to different types of search engines, not just Google. It's a really interesting concept that's very forward-facing. I wouldn't be surprised if more companies are using headless CMS and ultimately have to implement headless SEO. Good article by Lidia. In the world of SEO tools, interesting rebranding exercise. DeepCrawl is now Lumar, talking about an expanded vision. So they did a lot of technical SEO for enterprise level websites. I guess they're kind of doing category creation in this whole idea of website intelligence. So beyond technical SEO, they're adding tools and features like website health scores, benchmarking, and traffic funnel visualizations. It'll be interesting to see what actual value that is. They're changing a lot of naming conventions within the app and adding metrics. So potentially there'll be better value there. It'll be interesting to see how it's marketed and if their customers understand what the difference is, because in the rollout, it's a little confusing, but hoping for the best. I always want to see folks succeed. And it's great to have new innovations when it comes to technical SEO and I guess website intelligence. So check out their new site and their new branding. Curious what you think. And finally, last week we had a awesome episode of Rankable with iPullrank's director of SEO, Zach Chahalis. We talked all about, we geeked out over schema and structured data, specifically in the context of e-commerce. Zach has seen it work across a number of different companies, and his argument is that structured data properly implemented can impact your rankings. Plus, it gives you so much opportunity when it comes to visibility. I thought it was a great discussion, also with specific insights on what you can actually start doing today, especially in e-commerce ahead of the holidays, like get your structured data implemented. Why so many people don't do that? Anyway, we got plenty more episodes of Rankable coming up. I'm so excited. I've been recording a ton recently, so keep your eyes peeled for those every Wednesday. And that's it for the SEO Weekly. How cool is SearchOn? Very fascinating stuff with the world of Google. I'm so curious to hear what you think. Is Google getting better? Is it getting worse? As always, if you are into all of this SEO content, please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, share it on the socials. I truly do appreciate it. My name is Garrett Sussman of iPullrank, and I am signing off. I will see you next week. Peace.